I really enjoyed looking at your images, and I learned a lot, which is kind of the goal today. We're supposed to learn. I learned from you, and you folks hopefully learn from me. And the images actually were very, very good. So there wasn't a lot of I don't want to say, but a lot of the images I don't have comments on how to improve them because they were fine the way they were. And I don't really like to go into kind of I don't know, projecting my my vision onto an image when obviously someone else took it. And you know, my job is to look at the image and basically if there are areas for that I think could be improved or things that possibly I'm puzzled by, I'll comment on that. But for the most part, there wasn't a lot of that tonight. So it's not for a matter of not willing to give feedback on that. It's just a matter of really balancing the feedback with reality. If the images are well done, all you can do is always celebrate the images and speak to how well they are and how well they communicate stories. And before, when I do judging, I have the notes in front of me, plus I copy the notes into the top of each of the categories. I write up a script for each one of the images, and I go back and look and, you know, kind of go back and revise it based upon looking second and third and fourth times at the images, just to make sure that every image gets a fair shake. And actually what I find when I do that, I tend to find to enjoy images more the more I look at them. So I'm going to read off the script. Hopefully that's going to stop me from rambling. And also, you know, I have something unique to say about every image. There are, you know, of course, there's only a certain number of adjectives in the English language. The 500,000 words in the English language is only a few, only a handful that probably apply to photography, or at least I know. So I don't want to conflate my memory with what different images. That's why I write it down. So you'll be hearing me read off that. And then lastly, if you hear some snoring, there's a cat next to me who snores. So it's not me.
Okay.
But with that, before we go into mono, so you look at the rules of mono, they're pretty open, quite frankly. Basically, the only rule there really is it can only be one range of color. So if you choose blue, it could be multiple ranges of blue. A lot of people choose black and white. It could be obviously, you know, any kind of tonal range of black and white. You know, 0 to 255, which is the number system that's used in a histogram. It could be high key, it can be low key, it can also have a wide range of grayscale. So it's pretty open here. And of course, you can do any kind of manipulation you want. With that, let's start, please.
Okay. So first category is monochrome indeed. And the first level is basic. We have 4 images. And I need to cursor in the right place. And I'll read the titles, Mark, and then turn it over to you for your comments.
Thank you.
So, Painted Sky.
Yeah, this is very well done. The sky is cooperative, and its smoothness is a nice contrast to the texture and verticality of the mountain. Now, I think the small tree on the left-hand side is, I know you have some trees on the right, but they're kind of there's a critical mass there. The small tree on the left, even though the detail is beautiful, it might be better if that was cropped out. And other than that, it's really a beautiful picture, and the sky is just really very soothing. So I just said the word crop. Every time I say crop, I owe you folks $1. Next, please.
I'll keep count.
No, please don't. Next, please.
When you're through with commentary, just say next. And I'll...
Okay, next.
Classic colonial old town buildings, Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic.
Yeah, so the chip paint here makes this image interesting. You can kind of sense the passing of time on the walls and the doors. The tonal range is really well handled. You can see the texture in the white walls, which can be very challenging, especially in bright light. And of course, you have a whitewashed building. It's got to reflect light. So that's one thing that I like about this image is just the textures you can see even in the white. So this is very well done. Next, please.
Light in the Venita, Fez, Morocco.
Okay, this would be a really good image for an open discussion. You know, in our club, we have a show and tell night once a month where people submit images And it's not a competition. It's just something for people to kind of comment on image, for the audience to comment on images and have kind of an intellectual discussion. And this image is very well done. The human subject is well placed. He adds, or he or she adds a poignant human dimension to the architecture of the alley. And the lifting of the left foot off the ground makes the image much more interesting, right? Look at that. That's beautiful, that right there. Now, of course, the clothing is interesting too, and also the environment. So it's got a lot going for it. Now, here's a question I have for everybody who's watching tonight. Does the view of someone's back weaken the image? Right. So think to yourself and say to yourself, yes or no. You don't have to answer. There's no correct answer. When I ask questions like that, they're rhetorical. I have the answer. At least what I think the answer is. Okay, you know, this breaks a camera club convention. And I've heard judges dismiss images showing people's backs. And I want people to think about what does that mean? It's not a rule. There's no rule in the rule books that you don't show backs. It's just a camera club convention that somehow got adopted along the way. Now, how would this picture look if the person was facing you? And if they were looking at you or looking down, right? It would have a different vibe. Now, there is no rule that says backs are bad, quote unquote. Like I mentioned, it's a camera club convention, and it's one that I question. I'm okay with the back in this image. Less confrontational than a frontal view. You just have to open your mind to the idea that, you know, backs are part of being human, and let the artist execute their vision. So next, please.
Heading home, Petaluma Gap.
So this is very well done. This is an example of risk taking. It's not your typical camera club image. A simple image with an excellent execution and a great leading title. It makes you relate to the human phenomenon of commuting, quote unquote, going home. And note how beautiful the landscape is. You know, how often do we take that for granted when we're in our machine world rushing between locations? You've got some great leading lines here with the road, and then that's mimicked by the telephone poles along the hill. It goes off into the curves off in the distance. Our minds are very soothed by curves, so it's done very, very well. Now I wondered about this building in the foreground here. See this building right there? It's a little bright, and I don't know if that's an issue, quite frankly, because the building's kind of a mysterious building. Like I looked at this building, I said, what is this thing? Is it, you know, it looks like some kind of, I don't know, is it, I don't know, some old farm structure or something? So it kind of added some mystery to it. So it actually works with that kind of brighter building in the front. And this night photography is very challenging, and the artist handled the challenge very well here. So this is a wonderful picture. Next, please.
Monochrome intermediate, 2 images. Power fall.
Yeah, this is very well done. This reminded me of a master painting. You know, the mist creates a subtlety compared to the detail of the rocks in the foreground and background, which are nice framing mechanisms. The smoothness of the water is countered by the tension created by diagonality. So whenever any kind of diagonal line, usually that creates tension to an image. The image has kind of have an Ed Western, Ansel Adams feel to it. You know, invokes the power of nature. It's a great 2-word title. I actually looked this up. I was thinking, is this the name of the falls? But I think the title was created by the artist, which, now think about that. This photo was so interesting that I looked it up on the internet to try to find out where it was. And that's the sign of a successful image and a good title. So good job. Next, please.
Thunderstorm over the Amazon rainforest. Cumulonimbus capillatus tower over the altocumulus and stratocumulus clouds.
Yeah, this is excellent. You know, this is an example of impact. So when you're looking at images, usually interest is probably the primary driver. Interest is how long you're looking at an image. And if something's interesting, it's probably a good photo or a good image. But impact is kind of like when you see something, you kind of go, wow. When I saw this, I went, wow, that's pretty amazing photo. I thought to myself, I said, someone got lucky and got a seat with a clean window, which is, you know, talk about the moon, the stars, and the planets aligning. it really works out really well. This should be printed and put somewhere where visitors can see it when they walk in your house once this pandemic thing is over. The title is very good. No need to do us over the Amazon makes it more interesting. And the person researched what kind of clouds they were. Maybe they're a meteorologist, I don't know, but that shows the extra effort. And even without deconstructing it, it's just a beautiful image. Let's look at it now. It's even captivating me. So excellent. Next, please.
Monochrome Advanced, 9 images. Mount Baker, Starlight.
Yeah, this is well done. I think the conversion to monochrome was the way to go here. Sometimes when you have these starry skies, the colors get a little weird. They're sometimes that's just the way they are, but sometimes because your sensor, when it's exposed for a long time, can heat up, and then you get that kind of green, you get the green pixelating. So I'm not sure that was a situation with the original color, but this actually looks very, very well. The monochrome allows your mind to focus solely on the texture and luminosity. You take away color, you have texture and luminosity, and that creates a different kind of experience, and an experience here that is very well done. It's almost a little foreboding, this image, really, if you think about it. Like, would you want to be up on that ice patch right now, or at nighttime? I wouldn't, but and I've been in the Himalayas in Nepal. Next, please.
Rosa Gre.
Yeah, this is excellent execution. We see a lot of images of flower petals, and this one is very well done. It's very soothing. It acknowledges the beauty that nature has created in simple things. The bouquet is perfect, right? So you have the petals in the center in focus, and then the bouquet, which is a Japanese word that means blurred. It's pronounced the same as the French word for bouquet, which is a arrangement of flowers. You hear people say bokeh, which is actually a French word for mouth, but I mean, it's okay either way, but technically bouquet is the way it's pronounced originally. So it's very well done. Yeah, next, please.
Sahara Sunset.
Yeah, another really well done picture. This image creates a calming effect. The artist is shooting into a low sun, but we still see some great detail, a challenge that's very well handled. I shoot into the sun a lot, and it can be very challenging. I was thinking this was shot in RAW and then masterfully post-processed to get the details in the camera. The leading lines create an excellent kind of Fibonacci spiral, making nice profiles, having nice profiles of the camel's heads. Camel's head is also makes the interest more successful. So a Fibonacci spiral, I don't have a pointer here, but Fibonacci spiral, the mathematician Fibonacci, he came up with a certain sequence, and a spiral, it's something you see, it's kind of I guess it's the next step beyond I'm blanking on it, but the usual rule with you divide a picture up into
Rule 3.
9 sections, and then you pick out the corners, the 4 areas where you put things. It's a great explanation, huh? Anyways, but if you follow the lead of the camels, and then you kind of spin back on itself to come back in where the brightness is, that's a Fibonacci spiral, and it's a very successful technique. Next, please.
Out to dry.
Yeah, this is excellent. I hesitate to even say anything. I almost want you folks just to look at it without me saying anything, quite frankly. You really don't need me to say much about this picture. It speaks for itself. But that being said, I never miss an opportunity to speak. Excellent. It's a beautiful and intelligent image. Mono was the way to go here. You get the contrast of the outstretched wings of the bird against the barren branches of the tree, right? That's like a kind of a sameness type thing. The huge tree gives the bird a minimalist feel. I'm pretty sure it's a cormorant. They dry their wings because their wings don't have any oil. I could be wrong about that, but it looks like, I don't know, I've never seen a cormorant that high up in a tree, but anyways, that's what I thought it was. You know, and of course they're drying the title Out to Dry. It's a very, very clever title, right? And so my comment back to this person, the artist who made this, is tremendous. Tree spelled with 2 E's, Tree, Mendes. because that's it's an understated title, but it's perfect. And the image, this is the power of really an excellent image with a really good title. This also should be printed and put up somewhere where people can see it when they walk in your house. Next, please.
Right here, right now, all your faves from the good old days.
Yeah, this is very well done. Someone created a very nice image. And it's an evocative image from a simple window scene. It holds my interest and that makes it successful. It's a little busy, you know, busy photos can be kind of challenging for the human mind. But this one is, you know, very successful. Often busy images confuse us, but this one has the emotional kind of Where is Waldo vibe. You know, I suspect everyone will notice a few snacks that they enjoyed when they were a child. Just the amount of sugar that's in our systems from this stuff. It's amazing, but good job. Next, please.
Life is a beach.
Yeah, this is a great frontal view of what I think is an elephant seal. The image, you kind of have a spiral. You got two spirals. You have the spiral in the nose, and it's a huge nose. They don't often have noses that big. I guess this is an older one, or he's from Italy. Anyways, and then also notice the spiral in the back, where he's walked, almost like a tractor. So the animal looks like something from a science fiction movie. The light is rather harsh, but the artist handled it well. It's got a good shallow depth of field too, which works well. So yeah, next please.
Lonely hiker in Death Valley.
Right, so you have a cooperative sky and great terrain, right? I don't think this is Zabriskie Point, but it could be, I don't know. The range of tones is good and you can see the detail in the hills. And I kind of have mixed opinions on the light rays because they seem a little like an add-on. And the area behind the hiker seems to be overly lightened and it kind of creates a little bit of unrealistic contrast. If you look at the area around the hiker, it's only right behind him that's lit up, which I guess could be natural. I know I was a little puzzled by that. I think a more restrained touch might make it more successful. I would be interested in hearing a group discussion on this image too, because I wanted to be honest and give my opinion on that, but I'm definitely willing to kind of admit that maybe that's a kind of a, I don't know, maybe not a fair thing to say, because if it's natural, it's natural, but it just looks like it's a little bit unnatural. Anyways, very good. Next, please.
Abstract patterns in nature.
Yeah, this is very well done. It's a beautiful image. It has a surreal feel, which is, I suspect, the intent of the artist. The texture of the water is a nice play off the texture of the alligator or crocodile. Not sure which it is. We have both of them in North America. The upper background's a little strange. I think it's a composite, but that doesn't really matter. It's an image that should not be overly deconstructed. It takes away the impact. You know, it's a study in sameness, repetition, and difference. And our minds kind of like that stuff, you know, just all these different patterns. And then they're kind of the same, but they're also different on the alligator. Yeah, the border is really well done too. That's kind of the border adds, I think that white border adds a lot to it. Yeah, very well done. This is a puzzle and our minds like that. Next, please.
Photography is basically an art of arranging the angles. Mehmet Murat Yildirim.
Yeah, very well done. The high contrast option works well here. So if you looked at the histogram, it's probably got a lot of stuff on the right-hand side. This reminds me of a dream sequence that Dolly did for Hitchcock's Spellbound. It's a movie with Gregory Peck. That's what immediately I thought of, kind of like a Dolly type, kind of surreal type thing. And it's all created by this kind of angular perspective. So there wasn't a lot of heavy post-processing. It's just from the camera, the way the camera was struck, the way the camera was aimed, this person got to achieve this. And the dagon, of course, adds tension, and the title is a nice meditative reference. So this is very well done. Yeah, next, please.
Monochrome masters for images.
This is a very
Communication
competitive
station.
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sam. I'm sorry, Bill. Go ahead.
Communication station.
I just wanted, this is a very competitive category. I mean, this is, these images are all really, it was very well done. So this is a great title. It's a fascinating image. Look at those birds on that vertical line. I've never seen something like that before. And the starkness of the image is enhanced by the birds being in silhouette and also our empty space around the birds. It kind of has a minimalist field. Our minds like silhouettes. They're mysterious. You don't see all the detail, but you have the silhouette. The singular flying bird is a nice touch. That bird did not get the memo to stay put. And it's actually very well done. The diagonally works really well here. Thanks for not straightening it. You can imagine what this would like if this person had straightened it. It would lose some of its power. This image reminds me of some of the work by Henri Cartier-Bresson and also Paul Strand. Their images are often stark and evocative and kind of this high contrast. You know, if you look up Cartier's Man on a Bicycle or Strand's Wall Street, you can see what I'm talking about. Oh, by the way, at the end of this meeting, I turn my notes into a PDF and I'll send it out to Bill. So you can reference these and in case you're interested in it. If you're really bored and have nothing to do, put it on your coffee table, make people read it. But that aside, I mean, this is a great image. Very well done. Next, please.
Under a viaduct, the didgeridoo can make really eerie music.
Yeah, we have a great view of a musician and an instrument that we don't often see. The full frontal of the didgeridoo coming into the foreground is a good perspective. And the look in his eyes is great. He's either immersed in making the music or wondering about you as much as you are about wondering about him. The two sleeping dogs are great. I mean, it looks like the didgeridoo is on one of the dogs. Amazing. I mean, this is technically very challenging. I suspect this is a dark place. It looks like he's in, I don't know if it's a cave or what it is. And the artist captured great detail. And there's no blur. You know, often when you are in dark areas like this, you have a longer shutter speed and then you get blur. And look at those eyes, my gosh. And that hat even works well too. Yeah, very well done. Excellent. Next, please.
Too young to fly.
Yeah, this is very nice. You know, the mother and offspring image that most people can relate to. Very good positioning as there's not much of a visual opening to get this frontal view. And it's very well done. And I'm also wondering, you know, pretty sure it's an egret. I could be wrong. One of the egret family. Will only be made wrong. But another, like, these egrets are high up in trees. So how did this person get this kind of lateral view at one? And it kind of, I have a lot of respect for birders. They have a lot of patience. They'll go out there and they'll wait 2 or 3 hours to get a good shot. And this is a very nice shot, and their patience paid off. It really did well. Next, please.
Coaching CrossFit.
Yeah, so this is another image that would be great for a intellectual discussion among camera club people. I would tell people, write down 3 or 4 things about this image. Don't tell anybody. And then we would share it individually, share it as a group. That said, this is excellent. It's an inaction portrait shot. The title brings us into the moment and increases our ability to relate to the experience. Think about this without the title. It'd be interesting, but it would be kind of, you know, you'd be wondering what is going on here. The fade out background makes the image more successful. The image has some very successful risk taking. You know, notice these are not your typical for-hire models, right? You know, these are real people, and the artists created beauty without using or hiring conventionally beautiful people, right? This has a lot of beauty in this, and these people appear to me as beautiful, and I admire that risk. And this risk was successful. A lot of times it's not, and a lot of times it's not acknowledged. So this is really well done. Next, please.
Pictorial. Basic 7 images.
Okay, let me jump down my notes here. Pictorial. Okay, pictorial is an anything go type thing. You know, it's photography as an art form, quote unquote, with quote emphasis on interest, impact, composition, and technical expertise, which is kind of every image is kind of like that, not just pictorial from my perspective. But we talked about interest. How long something holds your interest usually means it's more interesting. It's better. It's a better photo. Impact is that, oh wow, it's like there's a little girl in a pink dress holding a big white bunny, right? Or in this case, that the cloud over the Amazon picture had impact. Composition is how you put it together, and technical expertise is, example. I always think birding photographers. I mean, some of the images they get, and some really great nature photography too. Some of the nature photography is unbelievable, especially with birds, because they're moving around and and they're often hidden, and yet these people get great pictures. That being said, anything goes in this category pictorial, right? You can do any kind of modification.
The title here is Water Drop.
Yeah, this is excellent. Great detail in the water drop. I shot a lot of these. I have a Olympus TG6, which has a nice macro setting. And during COVID, I shot a lot of stuff in my backyard, including things like this. I never got this good. It's really well done. Now, some of these white spots, some of these bright spots on the left and right, I wonder if that could be toned down a little bit. That's my only critique of this. But the image itself is beautiful. Next, please. Maybe selectively darkened, right?
Starburst.
Yeah, very well done. A good capture of an interesting environment. I couldn't figure out what this was, and it's pretty amazing. Very good handling of the lights. That could be challenging at night. So you usually get a lot of blowout, especially with bright lights like that neon light. So yeah, it's very well done. Good job. Next, please.
Look what I found on the beach.
Okay, very well done. The artist made a simple subject interesting, right? And the focus is part of the deal. That the shallow focus and the bokeh really helps out here. Getting down low makes the image successful. So if the person had not got down low, and they did get down low, they probably got on their knees and maybe even on their chests to get this image. I wonder if it was done with an iPhone. I shoot my iPhone like this, and you get some incredible shots. Yeah, this is and this. Notice the blue on the top. It's a much more, if you hold it, if you don't envelope across the top, it's a much more interesting image with that blue. There's something about blue and red, the colors, and there's also something about the subtlety of just that thin line of blue with what looks like the white water there, the waves. It's very successful. Next, please.
Church Glow.
Yeah, this is very well done. It's a good subject, good background, good title. Now, let's talk Camera Club conventions. What do people think of that lamp in the foreground that's not in focus, right? Does it matter? I think it works. I think it's fine. If that was in focus, you'd almost be drawn to that more so than the church and buildings in the background. So here's an example of something that's kind of in the foreground. It's bright and a little bit dominant, but it's actually very interesting looking too. I guess if it wasn't so interesting looking, it would be less successful. And look at that tree in the background with kind of the opaqueness that you get from whatever it is, the sky or just I don't know if there's what's going on here. Maybe it's a little bit dark. I guess it's dark. The light's on. Yeah, but yeah, very well done. Next, please.
Hey, look at that sky.
Yeah, it's a nice landscape with good layering. So landscapes, you have this layering like this. You've got the foreground, you've got this, which is tan. You've got the green, which is peppered with these very interesting haystacks. And then you have a very cooperative sky. And even the light poles in the distance are very good. Yeah, this is really well done. The detail in the hay rolls is excellent, and the diagonal perspective works well. It adds a little bit of attention to the image. So, how would this look if you didn't have that diagonality to it? I don't think it'd be as interesting. I think it'd be a little flat. So good. Next, please.
Nectar and a touch of pollen. Skipper butterfly.
Yeah, this is an excellent macro shot. You can see the detail in the eyes. Look at the detail in those eyes. I mean, it's amazing. It's a simple yet effective title. And the proboscis, I guess that's the proboscis, I guess they call that. Well, maybe that's the tongue. I'm not sure. It's not the nose. I guess it's the tongue. it's the tongue of this. I know what these things are because I shoot them all the time in my backyard. I forgot what they're called. But anyways, I know it. I know what this animal is. Yeah, it's very well done. Next, please.
Lake Nicasio.
Yeah, this is beautiful. This is a beautiful image. The image is very well composed. The elongated format works very well. The muted colors are excellent. Thank you for not saturating. You know, nature doesn't need to be saturated with unrealistic colors. That's something we do to say, oh, well, my picture isn't interesting enough. I'm going to saturate it. Now, is that a bias of mine or is that a preference, right? Biases are supposedly uninformed opinions. I don't like strawberry ice cream, but I never tried it. That's a bias. And, you know, preferences, I prefer not to have strawberry ice cream because it makes me throw up. That's a preference. But, you know, whatever you want to call it, a preference or a bias. I really like the fact that this person put a stake in the ground and did not oversaturate this image because it doesn't need it. And look at the smoothness of the water. Yeah, very well done. Next, please.
Pictorial intermediate, 2 images. Harnessing the wind.
Yeah, this is really a portrait of windmills, modern windmills, and it's really well done. It's compositionally, it's superior. Once again, we have these muted colors, and I don't have to rant on that. I've ranted on that already. You know, I like that. And it works well here. Saturating the image would have diminished it, quite frankly. You don't have to saturate it. This is just the way it is. And the portrait, the perspective also works really well here because, you know, these things are very elongated, and this artist is actually stressing that. I mean, it's a little bizarre, the whole thing, actually. Think about it. These things out there gathering energy in the wind. Yeah, well done. Good job. Next, please.
Spring brings new life to the wild horses of Nevada.
Yeah, very nice. Great plane of focus. The artist got the detail on both horses, which is challenging, right? Often you get one horse and then you don't get the other one. But the person got the plane right, or the depth right, and you see good detail. And the green tree on the right is a nice framing mechanism. Look at how nice that is they have there. And it makes the imaging more inviting. And the foreground is blurred. It's not an issue for me, not at all. I hesitated to even mention it, but I'm thinking that some people might say, "Oh, well, you know, he didn't notice the foreground was blurry." Well, I mean, these horses are out in the wild, it looks like, and that's what happens when you know, it's either get the horses' faces in focus, or, you know, get the bush in focus, and otherwise you'd have everything in focus, and you have a nice bouquet here with the background being out of focus. So the artist made a good choice. Yeah, next, and by the way, we're going to the advanced category in the master, so the expectations get a little bit higher too, just so you know that with my critiquing.
Advanced, 6 images. Fuchsia.
Yeah, this is very well done. The detail in the petals is beautiful. What's impressive about this photo is look at the texture on that petal. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but I've shot a lot of yellow and orange and whatever. This is fuchsia-like flowers, and often the detail gets blown out because the color pixel, even if you crank the exposure composition, the color pixel gets maxed out. So it's the color that actually, it's not the overall light. It's actually the color pixel that has to handle that color or that mix of colors, because I think there's 3 different colors on the pixels. But this person did a good job. I wondered how they did that, because it doesn't work. Mine don't come out like this. So, and it's a really interesting plant. It really is. It's beautiful. Very well done. Next, please.
Cruising Town.
Yeah. So this is an excellent long exposure. It's technically superb. You know, the Barron Street makes it more effective. It's really well done. I'd like to copy this. When I saw this, it's like, this person's got to tell me the shutter speed, how they did this, because it's you don't see trailers that long. It's really pretty amazing. And I was an amateur musician. I played in local bands for about 15 years. And what we learned there was to steal from the masters, specifically the Beatles. And this person is a master, and I'd like to steal their information of how they did this, what shutter speed this was done, and maybe what aperture too, and maybe the ISO. But very well done. Next, please.
On the outskirts of Amsterdam.
Yeah, this is well done, and I say that not being a fan of these painterly filters. Is that a bias? Is it a preference? I don't know. You folks make your choice on that. But this one's successful. I have a high bar when it comes to these filters, because often they're like a one button push type thing. And the reason why it's successful is because the underlying image is very well balanced. And the filter doesn't, the image would stand by itself, and the filter doesn't distract, it actually adds to it, right? I mean, look at this row of trees right here on the right in the green. It's really well balanced. Yeah, very well done. Next, please.
The swing.
Yeah, this is excellent. This has a Renee Magritte feel. I kind of expected to see an apple here somewhere, or a bowler hat. It's a realistic image that has a contradiction. That's kind of what his bag was. Very realistic, and then something's kind of weird in it. And we don't really know what it is. Sometimes we have to be told what it is, quite frankly. It's very well done. It's very well done. And yeah, it's nice. I was wondering how we'd look if the blue was a little toned down, a little desaturated. Now, this is me making, what do you want to say? This is me being obnoxious, because quite frankly, it's not my image. It's not my vision. It's the vision of the artist. So who am I to say, hey, you know, have you tried this? Because it's such a beautiful image. You even have the reflection of the clouds in the water. But anyways, that was just my own thought. That, like, it's really well done. I was wondering what it would look like if you toned it down a little bit on the blues. Yeah, next, please.
Solitude.
Yeah, this is excellent. The treatment is subtle, and it's kind of in the background, right? You see this detail on the. I don't know how this was done, but I think it's selectively done. I don't think it's a global approach, because the trees have great detail in them, but then everything else is kind of a little bit, you know, blurred out or painted on, what you want to call it. So it's probably not a global filter. It has a very pleasant dissonance that draws you into the image, and it's got a really good title too, Solitude. You know, we see a lot of we see a lot of trees by themselves. That's a common theme, but it's not a cliche in this case because of the treatment. And look at this. Look at the balancing. Look at the trees bending over to the left, and we got some extra space to the left. So, I mean, all these images in these categories are people who know what they're doing. Okay, I mean, you can tell, but if you really kind of look at what, you know, why you're enjoying it, you can tell that someone's had a camera in their hand for a while. Very well done. Next, please.
Shadows and veins.
Yeah, this is risk taking, and and I like to reward risk taking. You know, I shot a lot of leaves during the pandemics, yeah, and I'd pick them home and shoot them on my kitchen table. They're beautiful and they're complex, and if you take time to notice them, you know, if you just walk by or step over them, it's not. But this person took time to notice this. You know, the in focus center vein in the top image is most interesting to me. Right? See where that the biggest vein is. I was a little bit distracted by the out of focus dark area, and I was wondering, you know, we're in the advanced category. So this person is someone who did that purposely. So that's their vision. And I wasn't sure, again, I wasn't even sure if I should say something like that, because it sounds like a challenge, but it's not meant as a challenge. It's meant as just me intellectually trying to understand the image, and perhaps me trapped in some kind of convention, right? Some kind of camera convention where I can't understand it. So I say that because you know, the purpose here is for us to learn, and I'm still learning too. and I want to make sure that you folks get my ideas. All that being said, it's a nice image. It's very well done. It's different. Next, please.
Pictorial Masters, 7 images. Shadows and highlights dance as the storm comes in with dawn.
Yeah, I was puzzled by this image because it seemed a little over-processed in either Photoshop or Lightroom. The structure slider seems to be pushed up, and the orange tree is so bright that you've got some blown out color pixels there. The roof is the brightest element and it attracts the eye. And actually, to me, it's the least interesting aspect of the image. And maybe that could be darkened. Yeah. So maybe maybe I'm not plugging into what the artist's vision is. And I apologize for that, but next, please.
Night work.
Yeah, a good concept. But the colors to me are oversaturated. Especially the man in the orange on the right-hand side. I think it'd be stronger if it was more subtle, a lot more subtle. That's me and my preference / bias on saturation, because overall it's actually a very well done image. It looks like it's done in the dark, and they got some great details in the truck and so forth. So the execution was excellent. I guess I question the level of saturation. Next, please.
Star Lily.
Yeah, the focus here is kind of soft. I think that's what the intent of the artist was. I don't think it was limited by the camera lens, because obviously sometimes when you're moving in, camera lenses, and also you have the bright light. You have the bright light thing again too, with pixels getting blown out. Although you can see a lot of the detail in the leaves, except where the sun's on them, because the sun looks like it's probably pretty harsh. But it's got kind of a soothing feel to it, and it's I see pictures like this, and it's like, wow, the beauty of nature, huh? How many times have I walked by plants like this and not even looked at them? And I think the artist stopped here and said, look at this thing. And I could see why they took the picture. Very well done. Next, please.
Lost in thought.
Yeah, the hair is a very nice framing mechanism here. She's got really interesting hair. Now the nose is a little bit too close to the line of the face. It almost causes a merge, right? In classical sculpture or classical portraiture, poses keep a clear separation between the nose and the line of the face. The nose either provides a strong profile against the line of the face, or the face provides a full background. The face provides a full background to the nose. So here we have this person. The angle that the picture was taken is actually right in the middle of those two kind of classical poses. And you can actually I actually looked that up a long time ago about when I was looking at classical sculpture and poetry and portraiture, and they showed the 5 or 6 different kind of angles they took on people's faces. So that somewhat limits the success. It would be more successful again if you showed more profile in the nose. Next, please.
Owens Valley Daybreak.
Yeah, a successful landscape. It has several layers, including the snow-covered hills, and a nice layer of the suspended fog. The trees on the left balance against the taller mountain on the right, and that brings you into this somewhat surreal fog in the image, right? It brings you right into it, and it's very well done. It's a different kind of landscape. If you spend any time in this area, you really get angry that LA stole all their water, because it's beautiful here. Nothing against LA. San Francisco, we're water stealers too. Yeah, it's very well done. Next, please. Different kind of portraiture, or different kind of landscape.
Floppy starburst.
Yeah, it's a good concept. The down low perspective works really well here. As you get the translucence of the petals, which I think is the power of this, right? The power, getting way down low here. Well, it feels like they got down low. Who knows how they actually achieved it? That's really successful in here. Now, the starburst to me seems a little tacked on, right? I don't know if it's natural or not natural, but it seems like it's a little overwhelming. It competes actually with the beauty of the petals. From my perspective, these are all my perspectives. It doesn't, doesn't mean much, quite frankly. I wondered if the image would be more successful without the starburst or with it toned down a bit. So I think about if you could block the starburst out of your mind there for a minute, it's a beautiful picture just by itself, especially with the shadows of the I don't know. I used to know my stigmas, I think they're called. They're different for male and female. And those shadows of whatever those things are inside usually have the pollen in them. And the colors work good. The orange and blue really work really well. So yeah, well done. Next, please.
Sunset on the Puna High Plains, Argentina.
Yeah. It's an excellent landscape image. Great texture in the ground and the water and the mountain in the ground, and then the water and the mountains lead us to this payoff of that single mountain in the distance. Look at that thing. And then of course you have the sky. The sky is very interesting. It's subtle. The clouds are not overwhelming. Think how this would have been really lessened if you had a really, really dramatic sky. I don't think it would. I think the subtleness of that soft sky actually makes it more interesting. The terrain of the colors seem a tad surreal, but I think this is authentic to the landscape and the altitude. And the deep depth of field was a good choice. So yeah, it's really well done. It's really well done. Excellent. Next, please.
Okay, we've covered 2 categories. We have 3 more to go.
Yeah, before we start this category, so this is a really long definition for this category. And,
yeah, I'll give you a little time from now on each of the categories.
Oh, thank you, Bill. Yeah, this one is a rule and travel too. The really long definitions, and there are quite a bit of rules actually of what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. And I read them every time I judge and every time I put an image in, because quite frankly, there's quite a bit to them. That being said, I think the one thing I want to mention that's in the rules. So again, I have to follow the rules. That's the name of the game. I don't have to follow camera club conventions, but I have to follow the rules. And one rule is that the title should be factual and descriptive. Scientific names are encouraged but not required. So titles are very important in nature. Also very important in travel. You think National Geographic, when you look at a title, usually it's supplementing or complementing the actual image, and it kind of gives you a little bit of extra. Oh wow, that's interesting. So that rule is part of where I'm going to critique from. So just be aware of that. That being said, let's go.
Okay, basic 5 images. Just get my cursor in the right place. Get out of the way. Polyatus leucocephalus, bald eagle. A pause and reflection.
Yeah, it's an excellent profile. The reflection of the eagle is very nice too. The title's a little thin. It could be more informative. Where is this? What gender is it? What is he or she doing? I mean, I don't think it's contemplating the existence of life. It's who knows what it's doing. I would say it's looking for food, but I don't know about that. So having a more factual and descriptive, again, that's from the title, that's from the rule. Having a more factual and descriptive title will make the image more successful. That aside, it's a beautiful image and it's very well done. So next, please.
Espara macau, sitting among Amazon tree grapes. Coroma macropyfolia in Ecuador's Amazon rainforest.
Yeah, this is a nice shot. The turn of the head is really nice, as you can see the profile. And the title is very good. It's informative. It speaks to location and the environment, including food. It's really well done. Yeah, next, please.
Loved by Mama.
Yeah, this is a good subject, but it's out of focus, which limits its success. Even the leaves are not in focus, right? And the little duckling looks like she's not he or she's not in focus. The title's a little thin, does not inform us of the species or the location. Again, think of the titles you see in National Geographic. They always build out the story and they're very interesting, which makes the image more relatable. So yeah, next please.
Fungi Hymengastrocea. This gilled mushroom is of the hallucinogenic species and requires a warning label. Do not collect or eat, they are toxic.
Yeah, this is excellent execution and excellent titles. Someone got down low on this thing. You can see the leaves in the background, the trees. So they've got this beautiful macro shot with a little bit of a the bouquet, which is perfect. Well, a lot of bouquet, a lot of blurring in the background. It's really really well done. You know, mushrooms can be otherworldly, and this shows that. The title informs us. It provides other information, additional information to make the image more interesting. The low to the ground perspective and focus are great. It shows the beauty of in this thing. While the title tells us that this little thing is dangerous, right? So there's a twist on the title. A good title will come to give you a different dimension on this story. Don't eat this thing. You may get a good ride out of it, but you could possibly get sick or maybe even die. Very well done. Next, please.
Encounter at Ocotillo Wells. There are 4,000 species of native bees in North America. 1,000 of them can be found in the Sonoran Desert, where this digger bee was photographed, genus Anthropophora.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent image, very informative title, very well done. I'm always so happy to see images of bees that are not native, not the non-native European honeybee. You know, of course, those are not allowed in nature because they're not native. But you know, I think there's 1,600 native bees. There's 1,600 native bees in California, 900 in Northern California, and you don't see too many of them. You know, you don't see really too many like this, and it's really well done. Most bee species are solitary like this one. They do not live in hives. They live, you know, either in the ground or they live, you know, in little burrows. This one may be a male because it has white facial markings. It's a great perspective and a good action shot. You know, it's gathering pollen or eating nectar, one of the two, and really well done. Next, please.
Nature Intermediate, 2 images. Wild African bush elephants, Loxodonta africana. One elephant raises its trunk to the mouth of another elephant in greeting. Etosha National Park, Namibia.
Yeah, this is excellent. It's a beautiful image with a very descriptive title. You know, we have a location. It's informed me. It's informed me of this encounter. I mean, of course, we know elephants are very tactile and very much of like a herd animal and very emotional. The image and the detail is great, is excellent, and the bouquet provides a great background. Look at that background. Often you get a great shot like this, so you don't get, but then you get something in the background that's kind of distracting. You don't have it here, and it's a good job. And you know, the tucks, the little white tusks, that's a great contrast against the gray. It really is. You see great detail in these elephants. Very well done. Next, please.
This is a sequence of 4. I'll go through all the 4 titles and then turn it back over to you. Eagle, the bald eagle, Haliaetus leucocephalus, is a bird of prey. Their diet includes fish, various mammals, and a variety of birds. This one is feeding on the remains of a goose. They're also scavengers, and if they see an opportunity, they may even steal food from fishermen, seals, or even birds, such as osprey and eagles. Besides using their talons for hunting, eagles also use them as weapons to attack other birds and animals, defend their territories, and fight over resources such as food. The confrontation between these 2 adult bald eagles ends with the original eagle still holding claim to his kill.
Yeah, well, this is an excellent sequence. It's got great images. They're all really strong images. Often in sequences, you have 4 images, but not all of them are strong. And they're very good. Very good compositional framing. The third one's really special. Seeing those Italians in action is just amazing. It's an action shot, which is challenging, and the artist nailed it. I mean, I'm often amazed at the technical expertise of bird photographers, because this is actually more challenging than taking a picture of someone running a football or kicking a soccer ball, right? Because you know they're going to be on the field. You can position yourself right. But with these kind of situations, not only did you get a great situation, but you also got the right angle on it, and the detail is great. Look at the eye; you can see the eye here too. And I guarantee you, this person probably stood out there for a long time before they got this shot. You don't just walk up to the creek, wait 5 minutes, and get shots like this. So that's another patience that we learned from bird photographers. That's excellent job. Next, please.
Nature Advanced, 2 images. Well, it appears this male mallard duck, Anas platyrincos, is walking on water. This duck is actually walking on very thin ice of the frozen Gull Lake of June Lake, Highway 395, California.
Yeah, this is very well done. The compositional skill of the artist and the factual and descriptive title make the image very interesting. Explaining that this is ice, you don't have to figure it out. I mean, nature, you don't want puzzles in nature, right? You want to be able to people to understand what they're looking at. You know, having one leg up communicates the movement and the balancing ability of the duck. The background's beautiful too. The deep depth of field definitely paid off here. The light on the duck is perfect. You know, it's a good job of making a very simple event very beautiful. So, and June Lake is a beautiful place too on top of it. Next, please.
Burrowing Owl, Athene curriculara, live underground in burrows they've dug themselves or taken over from other animals.
Yeah, it's a well-framed shot. You have the owl and the burrow, which is really excellent because a lot of times you can't get a good shot of the burrows like this. And you got both. Now, it looks like the focal plane is a little bit behind the owl's head. And you can see that if you compare the great detail that's in the dirt behind his or her head. And then if you come forward, it looks like the right eye might be in focus, but the beak and the feathers in the head aren't. I actually looked these animals up on, and look how the feet are actually in focus. Look at the feet are in focus though. It's kind of strange. I actually looked these up to make sure that I wasn't, you know, I knew what I was looking at. I looked them up. I had seen them where they actually have more detail on the beak and on the top of the head. The actual white feathers are kind of like I don't know, they're kind of, they're not sharp. The pattern of the animals is not very sharp. So that's not an issue, but it just seems like the background is more in focus than the actual bird itself, bird's face. Yeah. Next, please.
Master's level, 5 images. Southern ground hornbill eats a baby snake. These are the largest of the hornbills. The males of the species have a showy red wattle, Masai Mara Kenya, Leucorphus ledbeaterei.
Yeah, this is very well done. The image and the title could be in National Geographic. So what if I titled this, "It's Lunchtime in Africa"? I mean, doesn't tell you much, right? So the image is crisp. The shot of the snake being eaten is tremendous. The title is descriptive and informative. Those are the key phrases. That's the rules. And look at that bird's head. It's great. It really is. And you got lucky with the background too. I mean, I don't know how you caught this thing eating the snake. It's just pretty amazing. And it looks like even the snake's being cooperative while it was getting eaten. The way it's in the mouth. It's amazing. Tremendous. Great. Next, please.
Great egret, Ardea alba. The nest is generally 3 feet across, 1 foot deep, with 1 to 6 eggs laid. Nesting period is 21 to 27 days. These 2 hatchlings are about 7 days old. Parents are very protective.
Yeah, this is very well done. You know, the title is great too. You're informing us about the environment this animal is. So you're not just throwing out facts about the animal. You're telling us about what's actually in the image, right? And that's a very important thing to do. You know, look at the backdrop of that extended wing, right? Look at the crates for the 2 little, I guess they call them chicks. I'm not really sure if they call them chicks or not. the details on the bird and the wing, it's great. You know, shooting white animals, white feathers it can be tough, especially in the sun. They get blown out. And also you have this action shot of the young getting fed. You have two young here, and it looks like one is moving in for the kill. The other one's about to. You know, and these birds also live high in trees, you know, and so I commend the artist on getting a level shot like this. I'm not sure. I'm sure they, you know, again, this is a birder. They probably watched this animal for a long time to get this shot, and it's a lesson in patience. Title is appropriate and successful. It informs us of the animal's self-made environment, and it educated me. Thank you so much. Next, please.
The unfurling fronds of bracken are called fiddleheads. Iridium aquilinium, or eagle fern, occurs in both hemispheres. The extreme lightness of its spores led to its global distribution. Hornbill.
Yeah, the artist made this plant interesting. The shot is well composed and the title very informative. So again, think about this. It's, you know, how many times have you walked by plants like this and not but anything of it? And then not only does this artist take the picture of it, but then they educate us on top of it. So, you know, it's a shot that kind of implies, you know, the passing of time, because they're talking about the spores, how the spores will eventually be dispersed. And the artist took time to research this. I mean, maybe they're botanists, I don't know, but I suspect they researched this, and that makes the image more successful. So it's tack sharp where it has to be. Very well done. Next, please.
Ladybug forages for insects to eat on these dew-laden lupin leaves.
Yeah, this is very well done. You give us a nice focus shot of an insect and its environment and explain what he or she's doing. The background of the dew is a very nice addition. I think centering it like you did is the way to go. It's basically a portrait, really. In portraits you can center. Title is very good and very informative. These are amazing little, well, nature in general is amazing, but these are amazing little creatures. I play soccer on a turf field, and for some reason they hang out on that turf field, and I stopped playing soccer and picked them up and take them off the side, because I just think they're just beautiful, beautiful animals. And I know the spots have some kind of, the spots denote things too. I forgot what it was, but I remember I researched these a long time ago. But very good job. Next, please.
Sequence of 4, nest building, whether it is a great egret, a cattle egret, a snowy egret, or a black-crowned night heron, nest building always begins with a gathering of sticks. Santa Rosa, California.
Yeah, this is superb. Showing the different species doing the same task is insightful and entertaining. You know, when I saw the first image of a great egret, I was expecting more great egret images, and I was, you know, pleasantly surprised when I saw it was an assortment of birds doing the same activity. It's a very effective presentation and one I haven't seen before, right? Now, the first 3 images are very well composed and have great in-flight focus. And again, you're dealing with some bright light on a white bird, and they've done a very good job capturing the detail of the feathers. It's compositionally and technically superb. Now, the black crown in the last image, its face is not sharp. It looks like the plane of focus is behind the animal on that leaf, to that green leaf to the left. I think the heron could be dropped from the sequence, and then you're left with 3 very strong images, and they're all variations on the theme of egrets. So in this case, 3 images are better than 4. You don't need to shoot all 4 shots on a sequence. I learned that from another judge when he critiqued one of my sequences, and I think he was right. So yeah, superb. The first 3 are superb for sure. Next, please.
Can we go to travel? You want to say a few words about travel first?
Yeah, let me just get to my my notes here. Travel, here we are. Yeah, so travel. Every year M4C revises this definition. Every year PSA does it. It's very it can be controversial. A photo travel image expresses the characteristic features and culture, or feeling of a land as they are found naturally interesting. If you look up the word natural in the Oxford English Dictionary, the first definition deals about the physical world of plants and animals. It's not about humans. But the second definition talks about natural as a basic or inherent feature of something, right? The Golden Gate Bridge is a basic or inherent feature of the Bay Area. The Eiffel Tower is a basic and inherent feature of Paris. So that's kind of the context. It's more the second definition. The title should give location and complement the travel story. So again, you're here to educate, right? What you can look up complement in the dictionary, but basically why I interpret that is that, again, you're informing or educating the viewer. Often when you inform and educate the viewer, I mean, that's usually you leave a satisfied viewer. So that being said, next, please.
Bicycles are a primary mode of transportation on Ireland's Aran Islands.
Yeah, the image is very well balanced, but it seems a bit out of focus. And that would be expected with the man on the bicycle because he's close to you when you're moving away, but not with the rock wall and the telephone pole and the sign in the background. The title is good. It has location, discusses the role bicycles play in the culture. So that's actually very, very well. And it's got a beautiful kind of this, again, our curves are soothing, right? We get soothed by curves, and the sky is very soothing. But focus is an issue here, I think. Next, please.
Intermediate, 3 images. Man adjusting pandanus leaves in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Foal Island, Ha'apai group, Tonga. He is soaking and softening them prior to drying them for use in making woven mats.
Right. So think about this image, right? If you saw this guy doing this, you wouldn't know what's going on. But someone's gone to the trouble of finding out what this guy is doing. This person's a worker, right? It's very well done. It's an authentic shot of something that is distinct to this culture, right? The title is very good, and we are educated. You know, doesn't matter if the man is positioned to left, to center, and kind of facing left. That's a convention that you hear people say, avoid, avoid. I don't agree with that convention. Positioning of the man to the left is successful as you get the trailing net. Also, the man is looking down, which brings his focus and ours into the image. So it's a very simple image, and you can imagine walking by on the beach or whatever it is and just ignoring this man. But and look at those arms. This is someone's working for a living every day. Yeah, very well done. Next, please.
The Awani Hotel, Yosemite.
Yeah, the artist is juxtapositioning several things here, you know, small versus large, old versus young, dynamic versus static, bright versus drab, organic versus inorganic. You know, that's the deconstruction of it. I think the child's out of focus, and I tried to get okay with that, but I think it should have been a sharper. I think if the child was in focus, it would be a stronger picture. People out of focus is often something that our minds kind of can't wrap ourselves around. It'd also be a little more balanced if the child was a little more to the left. I'm not sure if this kid all stayed on the right the whole time, but you notice there's 2 trees on the right with the child, and there's this big space on the left, which you're kind of drawn into that space on the left. And the title is very limiting. The travel titles need to provide more than information location. You got to think National Geographic and tell us the specifics. Tell us about this building. I'm sure this building has a great history. Yeah, next, please.
Drivers cross the Richmond San Rafael Bridge on a smoky autumn night. This is one of the 5 unique bridges that connect the various cities surrounding the San Francisco Bay.
So that is a great title, right? Very informative. The image is really well done. I haven't seen this view of this bridge. I've been across this bridge a zillion times, but I haven't seen this view, and it's really a great view. It shows the beauty of the bridge, really. You know, and you know, the silhouettes of the hills and the trees are a great background because they provide a contrast. You know, kind of the man-made world versus the nature-made world that's kind of lingering in the background as we change it. The light is very well handled. There are no overly dark, overly bright areas, and you can see the detail in the dark areas. I mean, you're shooting at night. This is very challenging. The moon looks surreal, but look at what the artist did with the title. They used the adjective smoky. So this allows us to accept the strange color of the mood of the moon and enjoy it. It guides us into the reality of the situation. This is the value of a good title. Without that word smoky, or him or the person, him or her not telling us that this was that smoky period that we get now and then from fires, you would look at that moon and say, wonder if that's real. And there you go. There's the value of someone using the title well. And also the 5 bridges thing is nice too, is informative too. So very good job. Excellent job. Next, please. And now we raise the stakes. We're going to advanced.
6
Higher.
images. Young men rhythmically swing 7-pound hammers in a Mandalay workshop with the goal of producing the thinnest gold leaf, a process that is said to take 5 hours and 20,000 swings.
Yeah, this is excellent composition and an excellent story. The image is authentic to the culture and it shows an ancient craft in action. The perspective is excellent. And also you have this nonchalant guy in the background hanging out, which is really, it's probably real. I mean, that's whoever he is, whatever he's doing there, he's there. Notice how the clothes are authentic too, right? Now the title has a confusing flaw. It's Mandalay, right? Mandalay. I think it's misspelled. At least when I was looking at it, was misspelled as Mandally. And the artist doesn't mention that it's in Myanmar, which is Burma. It used to be Burma. People know where London is, but many do not know that Mandalay is Myanmar. I think it's the 2nd largest city in Myanmar. Maybe that was said in the title. This mystery could be avoided by inserting a reference to Myanmar, such as young Myanmarese men, or in Myanmar, in a Mandalay Myanmar workshop. Titles, according to the rules, titles have to have location. I'm hoping this title can be corrected. Aside from that, it's an excellent image. Particularly note the separation of the faces and the fine focus on the moving arms and bodies. So very well done. Next, please.
Sunset over Westminster Bridge, London, with reflections from the London Eye.
Yeah, I guess my question was a rhetorical question. Do people see the reflection of the London Eye in this image? It wasn't clear to me where it was. Perhaps it's the water in the lower left. And the title kind of confused me because I was looking for the London Eye in the image and then concluded, oh, this is probably an image from the London Eye. So it's from the London Eye looking over London. And I don't know if that's Westminster right there, maybe. But we'd have to, it's just not, it just confused me. So next, please.
Exploring the Everglades by airboat. The Everglades is actually a slow flowing river, 0.25 miles a day, and has been declared a national park and a World Heritage Site.
Yeah, the view of the back of the boat is interesting. Usually you don't see this entire fan structure. I found it interesting. The muted colors would work, but the sun is washed out. I don't know if this is midday or what, or because of the sky, but a lot of things are washed out. Look at the foreground and the sky, and the flag is totally washed out. I'm thinking maybe exposure compensation could have been used to maybe capture more digital information. The histogram for this image is way to the right, and you can use exposure compensation to move the luminosity of the pixels more to the center of the histogram and capture more digital detail. So yeah, so that somewhat limits its success. Next, please.
The Queen of Head Lighthouse. The lighthouse stands 93 feet high, is the tallest lighthouse on the Oregon coast and near Newport. It has been a beacon of light at night, guiding the ships and their cargo since 1873.
Yeah, a very informative title. Very interesting. 1873. It's old. It's very well done. Here you have the muted colors and dark skies. Of course, it's darker, but it's well handled, and it adds the dark sky adds kind of atmosphere to this image and in the experience of this building. It can be a challenging shot because the light is kind of low, but it's well executed here, and the birds help too. Very well done. Next, please.
Inca Fertility Garden in Chiquito, Peru. Despite its disputed authenticity, it is visited by many couples hoping to improve their chances of conceiving a child.
Yeah, very good title. I mean, this is something that the title makes much more interesting because you're giving you're kind of filling out the what this thing is used for. It's a good storyline. It makes the image more interesting, and it communicates how people continue to interact with artifacts from the past. I think using the blurred walls as a framing mechanism works well here. Cropping them out, I think, would have been a problem. You would have created some border issues. So, yeah, it's a nice image, and it's well communicated to us. Good job. Next, please.
Activity at dawn, Single, Amsterdam, Netherlands.
Yeah, I may be missing something in this image, but it didn't resonate with me. I don't know if there's more to know about this neighborhood, Singal. What makes the area and this image significant to the viewer? I think the blurred tram and the blown out street signs up front distract the eye. The artist is caught kind of a rock and a hard place because increasing the shutter speed would adversely reduce the amount of light on the sensor. So yeah, I think I'm not sure this one. I really didn't understand this image very well. It didn't evoke for me. So next, please.
Travel Masters, 6 images. Mustangs in Bench Creek Valley in northern Nevada. The state is home to about half the country's wild horse population.
Yeah, you have good separation on the moving horses. Sometimes these horses are in herds, and it's hard to get separation. The title is interesting that half these horses live in Nevada, so I was educated for that. I didn't know that. I'm not sure if there's something else to be said about their origin and their management and the environmental challenges of these feral animals, because I know that's a big topic. It's nice that the animals are all kind of in that brown background. I think if they were half between the, if that green background was a little bit lower, it might be a little bit of dissonance maybe. But yeah, but it's a nice photo. Next, please.
A 7-mile hike through the desert terrain of Horseshoe Canyon, Utah, leads to the Great Gallery, a 120-foot panel of ghost-like figures painted over 2,000 years ago by ancestors of the ancestral Pueblos.
Yeah, this is well done. You get a good view of the pictographs, and the man in the foreground has a nice perspective of scale. It's high day, and the challenging light is well handled. The title is very informative. We get the location, the name, and some details, including their age. Unfortunately, this red backpack is distracting. This category does not allow selective darkening or desaturation. So this, what's the solution? What do birders do? They wait. I know that sounds ridiculous, but birders wait for hours, and they wait till someone who shows up without a bright red backpack. And that may sound ridiculous, but I looked at this image. First I saw the humans, the pictographs. Then I looked down and saw the man with the green backpack. Then I looked back up at the pictographs. I didn't even notice the ones on the right till the third time I looked at this image. So that shows you how distracted I was by that red backpack. So other than that, it's a very good image. Next, please.
Chicago has attractions for people of all ages.
A very well constructed photograph. The reflections, a nice panorama. It's these two people doing what they're doing with these hula hoops is really great. The title could be improved. It doesn't complement the story. According to the rules, the title should give location and complement the story. This object is called Cloud Gate. It's commonly referred to as the bean. That's not mentioned in the title. I think information like that would add to the story of this image. And there's a lot to this sculpture. For instance, it's made of 168 stainless steel plates welded together, and its highly polished exterior has no visible seams, which is an architectural feat. Referencing the generic nature of attractions in Chicago does not inform the viewer. Think how this would be captioned in National Geographic. Also, how would you describe this image to your friends if they were viewing it? Would you use the current title? Right. Next, please.
Approaching the Port of San Francisco, also known as the Ferry Building.
Yeah, compositionally, it's a nice shot. It's the early morning light allows the good detail on the bridges, on the buildings, and the site is coming from the east. We actually have 3 ferries that go to San Francisco now in Alameda. So I've seen this view before. The perspective successfully juxtaposes the 19th century ferry building built in 1898 with the 21st century Salesforce Tower built in 2018. The title could be more informative. There's a lot to comment on regarding this building on the waterfront. For example, it's been a commuter hub since 1898 and was restored in 2002. It was once one of the tallest buildings in the city and was once the second busiest transit terminal in the world. I think Charing Cross was the busiest at the time. This is probably turn of the previous century. So I think kind of a lost opportunity to give a little more oomph to the story about the building itself, because this is the kind of stuff that sometimes gets torn down, and then you're wondering, you only can see it in old pictures. Next, please.
View from Castello Doria. Visitors are treated to a view of the quaint village of Porto Venera, Italy, one of the villages comprising Cinque Terre.
Yeah, this is very well done. We have a different view of Cinque Terre. Usually you see the cliffs and the trails along the sea, but this one is interesting because it shows the terraces that have been created. And I'm not sure if that's for farming purposes or to prevent landslides, or maybe a little bit of both. So that's really successful. The bright yellow playground right in the center is a tad distracting. Because bright colors like that commandeer your attention. But the more I looked at this image, the more I got okay with it, because I thought about it. Wow, this is, I think that's a school up there with the tower. That's the playground for the kids. So I was thinking, like, wow, I know many small towns in Italy, in the interior at least, are being abandoned by young people. And this shows that this, of course, is Cinque Terre, so there's lots of money for tourists and so forth. But it just shows that there's also this newer life that's there. It's not just this old city with the young people going away to Rome or Milan or wherever they want to go. So I guess I opened my mind up to it, and kind of that's the value of kind of challenging camera club conventions. You allow new perspectives and deeper interpretations. So I'm okay with it. Next, please.
Boat cruises on the Irrawaddy provide an interesting view of everyday life along the river. Boatmen pole, checking for depth, and thatched hut villages cling to the sandbanks, Myanmar.
Yeah, this is very well done, and it's a very good title. You're describing what this guy's doing with that stick. I don't know if I would have known that, quite frankly, unless I was informed. And that tells you a lot about this job these folks have on this river. The image is not flashy. It doesn't need to be. It's authentic life along the river. I find this scene very interesting, especially given the grass huts and distinctive boats. The men are using the motor on their boat, and the fact that we are told they use it for cruises implies the encroachment of modernity. Note how note how the motorman is wearing pants, as opposed to the other guys who are wearing traditional garbs. The sarong, I call them sarongs. I don't think that's the right name. I have one from Indonesia. I'm not sure the exact name, but they have some kind of name. So I'm killing that. But, change is coming here, right? Change is coming to this village. Here comes Miramar. Well, if it ever opens up again or opens up more, you can see that scenes like this are probably going to be fewer and far between. And the title brings us into the culture of these people. So you have a relatively you know, I'm going to say mundane existence for these people, but it's very interesting. I mean, it's very, very interesting. And the title is great. So very good. I think we're done. Next, please. Okay, can I mention something here, Bill, real quick?
Sure.
Okay, so if I thought an entry could be stronger, if it needed minor modification, I either didn't award it or I gave it an HM. So the idea is that you have the opportunity, if I award it, if I give it like a first, or second, or third, you have the one shot, that's it. And when it goes to M4C, I think the tends to be, there's more, well, there's more competition. There's 500 images in the M4C competition every month, the projected competitions. So that gives you a chance to say, oh, what Mark, the input Mark provided me was interesting. I'm going to make those changes, or I'm going to think about making them. Or you can say, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Get him out of here. Get the hook. And then just resubmit it 2 months from now when this category comes up again. So that's my thinking in terms of because there's some really strong images here. And I wanted to give him a second chance. So don't be offended if you don't get a place award, because the intent is for you to have that. And I've done it a bunch of times. I've had pictures that didn't do well, and then sometimes I modify them, sometimes I don't. I put them back in, and sometimes they do. They usually do very well if I believe in them. So if you believe in your image, stick with it. Right. That being said, that's the thought behind my awards.
Okay. Another 9 images. Debbie, a Santa Rosa Cemetery volunteer, takes a moment from signing the public in for historic walks with docents around the cemetery. The Santa Rosa Cemetery was built in 1867.
Yeah, it's very well done. The image is well constructed. Placing the woman against the tree with the light shining onto the tombstone works well. The title provides great context here. I didn't know there were volunteers at cemeteries. So once again, I'm informed. Some might say the light is too bright and dominates, but I disagree. I think that adds a nice depth to the image and the story. Kind of like, it's the bouquet again is perfect because you see the tombstones, but you don't see any names, and everything's kind of blurred out. But the light actually being kind of heavy on the tombstone actually works. It works really well here. And of course, this person's in great focus too. So that's the most important thing with people. They have to be in focus. Very good. Next, please.
Bob Sturgeon of Sturgeon's Mill.
Yeah, this is great. This is excellent. The perspective looking up into the subject creates a feeling of power and dominance, something you need to run a sawmill, right? This guy doesn't fool around. The shadows on the face add character, and I'm glad that he's not smiling. He's working on a sawmill, not Disneyland. Now, the enlarged hand in the foreground reminds me of the statue of David. Michelangelo oversized the closest hand, the hand that's closest to the viewer, to communicate strength. And look how the camera kind of does that here because of the perspective. It's like right coming at you. Sturgeon's Mill is a great place. Our club does field trips there. And it would be nice to send a copy of this to Mr. Sturgeon, or so his kids could have it too. I take pictures of people working with my iPhone, and I text them to you, and most people like it. I ask permission first, of course, but they like it. So yeah, that being said, it's really well done. Next, please.
All quiet.
Yeah, this is very well done too. Excellent balance. The open space on the left kind of draws you into the image. And I don't know, look like crosses, but I think this is a vineyard, an old vineyard, but who knows? It doesn't matter what it is. That's the mystery of it is actually the power of it. And I kind of stopped myself from looking further as to what the heck is this thing, because it's incredibly powerful. Now you have this all quiet title, which immediately reminded me of an anti-war book I read by Erich Maria Remarque, who was a World War I German soldier, a veteran. And he wrote an anti-war novel. They made it into a couple movies too, and it was in the 20s and 30s, and it's a pretty powerful book. It's a beautiful image. It's a puzzling image, and it's just beautiful. It's just really, really well done. Yeah. Next, please.
Home is where the heart is.
Yeah, this reminds me of some places you see when you're out out by Death Valley or below Death Valley. See abandoned places like this. This is excellent. There's something fascinating to us humans about urban decay. Maybe it reminds us of our mortality. The title works, and it reminds us this is once a home occupied by people. This is an image you could see in a museum. I mean, and the title is great. Home is where the heart is. Look at the play on the graffiti of home and the heart. And then you have this broken plaster, which almost looks like a heart. It's just, and then of course, in people's houses, you have these signs that say home sweet home with a heart. In fact, we have one in our house. It's got a lot to it. It's dimensionally, and you don't have to even deconstruct it. You get it without even know that my deconstruction. At least I get it. Hopefully other people get it too. So yeah, it's beautiful. It's really well done. Next, please.
Death Valley Junction Fire Hydrant.
Yeah, I'm having flashbacks because I'm pretty sure this is the old opera house outside of Death Valley. I stayed there about 5 years ago. If you haven't checked this place out, it's Amarcosa, I think it's called now. Amarcosa Opera House, but a woman artist lived here for a number of years. She was a dancer and an artist. And she has a foundation now. I'm pretty sure that's what this is because I remember this opera house. And if it's not, it doesn't matter, right? It's really well done. Another example of urban decay, the urban decay experience, simple yet successful. This person got down low, and that made this image work really well. And they got the separation between the fire hydrant, which looks like it doesn't work anymore, and then this window, this very strange window. Look at how low the window is. And if this is the opera house, it was used as a hostel for workers who used to work the mines. I think there. I think maybe the borax mines. I think they used to live in this place. And look at the texture look at the texture that from the peeling paint. It's all really well captured, and it's a different kind of window. Yeah, it's great. I stayed there. I'm glad I did, but I wouldn't stay there again. Next, please.
Man with hat.
Yeah, this is well done. I see the man, he's on the top there and he's got a little face. The lighting's surreal, which makes the image more interesting. It's a good capture detail. I shoot machine parts sometimes, and this is a good example of how to make an everyday object, machine object look interesting. I was wondering if this was parts of transmissions. That's what it looks like to me. And the color, that kind of weird kind of purple color, it's not light, I don't think. I think it's painted on there somehow. And it looks like one says hi up, just kind of strange. Yeah, it's a conundrum, and it's worth, it holds your interest, right? It's very, very good. Next, please.
Built in 1915 by Big Lee, this gambling hall was in continuous operation until 1950. Dai Loi means big welcome. Dai Loi served as a community center, and its profits funded many civic projects.
Yeah, that's a very informative title. I've been to this place twice at least, and I didn't know the title meant that. And the perspective here is what makes this. Look at the perspective. Somebody got down low and shot this thing, and I wish it was me, because I've shot these signs a bunch of times, and I've never gotten one that looks this good. So this is the power of creativity of perspective, right? You didn't have to do any kind of fancy filters or any kind of fancy cut and paste. It's just the idea of getting down low and shooting something like this. And it's really well done. It's a good lesson for me. Good job. Next, please.
Storm over Great Sand Dunes.
Yeah, this is excellent. There's something very inviting about this image. And I just want to look at it. I don't want to deconstruct it or overanalyze it. I think it would ruin the experience. So I won't. It's just really well done. Next, please.
Eastern Sierra, 2018.
Yeah, this is very nice. The sky is super cooperative. You've got the sun going down, cusping, it's on the cusp of going over those mountains. And you've probably got the aperture real small because that's what creates those bursts. And it's, what's interesting about this is that this starburst is very restrained, which makes the image more successful. This is the power of subtlety, right? If that starburst was like right in your face and taking up more real estate, I don't think that the image would be that much more. I don't think the image would be that successful because it would compete with the sky and I guess the foreground too. Yeah, it's very well done. Good job. Next.
Okay, that brings us to the end of all of our images.
Never heard that mentioned.
So of course, this is all on your honor because we have no idea what you're doing on your computer, right? It's all on your honor. And most people get that. So my understanding, I read the rules all the time. In fact, last night I had this exact same conversation with 2 other judges and I got 2 different answers about the desaturation, right? Now, the way that for the storytelling categories, travel, nature, and
Journalism.
what's the other one?
Journalism.
Yeah. My understanding is you can do global adjustments. Like, okay, it's a little bit too bright. I'll bring everything down with a global adjustment,
Okay.
right? But obviously you can't remove things, right? And if you're dodging and burning, you're kind of removing something. I mean, if you think about it, you're adjusting the pixels.
Okay.
I mean, you're not maybe totally removing it. So the way that I tell people is, you can do global, any kind of, it's got to look, I think the rule says it has to look natural in some of those categories.
Yeah.
Or pure natural, I think is the word in travel. I'm not sure travel or or journalism. But if you're doing something globally, so if you pump the structure way up and it looks really weird, like a Salvatore Dali picture, no, that global adjustment doesn't work. But if you're just selectively doing something, if you're doing
Selective, that was the word you used.
yeah, you can't do selective modifications. So I would be really, that red backpack, I would love to be able to desaturate that down to like a light red, a real light red on the Indian petrograph thing,
Right.
right? And by the way, whoever's pictures it, they might say, well, forget you, that's who was standing there. And I say, well, these birders are out there. There's a guy in our club who spends 4 hours watching birds. And 3.5 of those hours, he's not shooting pictures. Right. So I could say if a birder can do that discipline to do that, you as doing travel or photojournalism should have the discipline too.
So say you have a very bright background, mountains, and you want to selectively tone those mountains way down, that would not be allowed?
Not allowed. It's allowed. It's not allowed in the storytelling category. So travel, nature, and journalism, you can't do that. You can do anything you want in creative, monochrome, or pictorial. You can cut and paste a chicken onto a bicycle.
And I do.
Which I had.
See things like that. See things like that, right? So, but no, if you think about it, it forces you to be a better photographer, because I have done what I don't want to rant on that one picture about the red backpack, but I've taken pictures like that and walked away. And when I got home, it's like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. There were a lot of people there. I could have waited. It's part of the game, right? I mean, you have control. You have control. You have some control in the environment. You have control when you can take the picture.
Yeah.
Now you can't tell that guy with the red backpack, hey buddy, take that backpack off. Right? You can't do that. That's staging, right? That's staging the picture, right?
Something interesting though, you mentioned the 3, they're really all different. I happen to be a review thing. And nature allows you to even do things such as it mentions in the rules, HDR, even adding a wing that's missing. You're allowed to do focus staging and dodging and burning. It says specifically, it mentions that, whereas in travel, you're right. Because it says basically the only allowable adjustments are removal of dust or digital noise, restoration of the appearance of the original scene, which gives you some movement to be able to do some of those things. And complete conversion to grayscale. So really, travel, they really,
So I have the complete nature definition embedded in this, because that's always a
Right.
contentious one in my notes. I don't see where it says you can dodge and burn.
maybe, do we have an old version? Because it says techniques that enhance the presentation of the photograph without changing the nature story or the pictorial content, or without altering the content of the original scene, are permitted, including HDR, focus stacking, and dodging burning.
Yeah,
Techniques-
That's
I
an
read
old,
that
that's
on
an
the
old
website.
definition. That's an old definition.
Oh dear, we need to,
Really?
we
I
need to
thought that
change
was
the, we need to change the
Hmm.
website with the rules.
What's dodging burning?
Lightning
Darkening and
stuff-
lightning.
collectively.
Oh,
Collect-
Stuff on our website was taken directly from the N4C website.
I thought so.
And that's what was on our website. I remember reading that. So, yeah.
Well, I have the definition in front of me. It's not there anymore. Because I copied the whole because this comes up quite a bit, right? Because it is so tempting when you have a beautiful picture of a frog and in the background there's a bright green leaf.
I just did this a couple of weeks ago. I copied it from the N4C website.
But it's possible it's wrong on the N4C website.
It could be an old version. Did you I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to you, but we could, you could pull it up right now if you want.
I'm looking.
It's good to
So
bring this
Mark,
up. So
what you say is what I learned when I was doing journalism and working in papers. I now do a lot of selected darks and lights, but then I don't compete either.
Yeah, that's fine. See, it's kind of a slippery slope, because what happens is, okay, I'll just, there's this thing that's distracting me in this image of this frog, which is beautiful. I'll just darken it down. That's basically removing it.
Yeah.
I mean,
And you didn't get it right in camera, which is the point of those.
once you start doing that, then basically what you are going to have, you're going to have a frog riding a bicycle in the end.
Okay, I'm
Mark,
reading it.
with
Read
all
right
res-
up. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, with all respect, Mark, I'm on the n4c.org website on the N4C competition rules 2022. And what I quoted to you about dodging and burning and HDR is in there.
Well, I just went to this website a couple of days ago and I cut and paste from that. So
Maybe a few of you could get together with Mark and investigate that later on. Would you
well,
get
if I'm
Mark?
wrong,
may
then
never
I would definitely be willing to apologize. But let me competition rules for. Let's just take a quick look here.
which one is the beta version?
I'm known as the rule queen. I'm the rule queen here. I keep quoting the rules.
Yeah, Mark,
I keep
Nancy is
saying
right.
that's the wrong rule.
Mark, Nancy is right. I'm on the N4C website, and it does say that. In the second paragraph, it talks about
Oh yeah.
a lot of
okay,
things
okay,
not
okay, yeah,
permitted,
yeah,
but
yeah,
then in
yeah.
the third paragraph, it goes on to say what is permitted. And I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you, if those two paragraphs are not contradictory. And there's
Yeah,
a word
I
in there
didn't-
that should be,
Yeah, this dodging and burning thing, I didn't see that. I see what you're saying now. Yeah, I guess technically, wow, that's what the rules say. You can dodge, burn, you can dodge and burn. Wow, that's
Okay,
amazing.
well,
But that's just in nature. That's not in travel.
Yeah, travel and
in a
photographs. you can't do that.
woodshed,
I don't get that.
So all allowed adjustments must
It's so
appear natural.
confusing. As
Yeah.
it's written, it's not written well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is,
and
that
then
is weird.
journalism has another way of saying it. I mean, in all of them, it says all adjustments must appear natural. But adjustments allow certain things that, you know, that's why we have such a hard time on the review committee is I like,
Yeah,
I
that's,
like parse these things.
Mark, you should ask the board about that, even though these rules cannot be changed for 2022.
no, this is, well, you're educating me, so thank you. This is, I did not see that dodging and burning. Did I cut that out of my thing here?
My problem with it as it's written is I don't think that it makes a good education model. I don't think it encourages people to take the shot correctly.
Well, you're changing the nature of the photograph when you burn
Right.
something down.
Right.
Mhm.
Or you, I mean, when you dodge it down, I mean, there's no two ways about it. You know, you could move a finger out of the picture by just, dodging it down. So yeah, that's good to know, I guess. That's good to know.
I think what happened is that that N4C worked on the categories different years. And I think when I saw something come out, I said, you need to do these in tandem because those three categories do not say the same thing. And I think the intent is that they should.
they should.
And in
It-
fact,
I just looked at those paragraphs. If you look at the third paragraph and it says techniques are permitted, if you put in are not permitted, then it makes more consistency with the second paragraph. So it very well may be a typo, but I would recommend just bringing it up before the board, making sure that that's the right definition. And we may have to live with it for 2022, but 2023 is a different story.
Yeah, I could have
This-
swore
this
that
is a-
HDR was not allowed. I wonder if that is the
Yeah.
case where somehow.
I know they just added that in about a year ago.
and it says including HDR, focus stacking,
Yeah.
sketching and dodging and burning, which doesn't mean that's the only things you can do.
Yeah,
It's just things that have it to be appear natural. And stitching is allowed to complete the natural image. I mean, that one was a few years ago. That one blew me away. That you could add on the rest of the wing.
Yeah.
Hey, gang, it's
Can I ask that
5
we
minutes
move
till
on?
9, and this is a great discussion, but could we move on
Right,
to
thank
the
you.
awards?
Yes. Shall we move on to the awards? Are
Yes.
we all
Yes.
ready?
Discussion
Yes.
is really important. I don't fault it at all, but I just think it's time to move it forward a little bit.
I'm gonna pursue that
Thank you.
because I could have swore that was a no before. Even I remember HDR was a no. All right, thank you so much, though.
Okay. Monochrome Basic, 4 images, honorable mention. Come on, image, show, there we go. And I'm not seeing titles or person. One moment.
Or EXIF.
There we go.
All right.
Honorable mention, Elizabeth.
Beautiful.
Very artistic.
Thank you. This is Old Town in
There you
Santo Domingo where Christopher Columbus's son lived. Beautiful spot. And all I thought was of Liz and Trish with Wabi Sabi when I walked through this town.
Yeah, I was attracted to it immediately.
Enter it again.
So. Derby.
Congratulations. Third place. Dan.
Dan here? think so.
I don't think so.
Beautiful image, though.
Mhm.
Very nice.
Why do some of them have EXIF information and some don't?
That depends on whether or not the owner of the image included the EXIF
Ah,
in their photo.
got it.
For example, if you take a photo into another program that doesn't carry the EXIF through, you can lose it. So before you upload an image to a competition, you should inspect the metadata information on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Congratulations to Dan, second place. Amy,
Very nice.
Love the back.
Yeah.
I like the back too.
Back is good.
I like the back. I think it's more mysterious. Where's she going, you know?
It tells a
And like
nice
you said,
story.
Mark, that foot is crucial.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite images. It's just, it's simple.
But I like how it's not super light or super dark. They didn't get real darks in there.
Yeah, right. They flattened it out. And I like this.
congratulations to Amy, first place. Mark,
Oh, Mark.
Nice.
Is
Pretty
Mark here
moody.
tonight?
I think so.
I haven't seen him.
No,
Yeah.
It could have gone.
congratulations. Congratulations to Mark. Monochrome intermediate, 2 images. Second place. Ellen,
Oh, nice.
Thank you. This is Lower Yosemite Falls.
Very powerful.
congratulations. First place. Pat,
Oh,
Beautiful.
thank you. Yeah,
Good
it
print.
was a rare chance. Phenomenal clouds.
Yeah.
Very nice.
From an airplane,
Yes,
Clean window.
clean window.
yes, so.
Beautiful.
Pat, I was wondering if you chartered a flight for it.
No,
So,
no.
so amazing.
Beautiful.
Turbulent?
Yeah, it was a little turbulent. But it's really not when we were up this high, but going through the clouds. Because you know, if you're not running through them, you're not quite as moving. But it was quite a scene.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
congratulations. Monochrome advanced, 6 images. Honorable mention. Phil,
yep, a rose from my backyard, converted to monochrome. I did add more blur around the edge in Photoshop to increase the bokeh, but other than that, I didn't do much. Oh, I remember, I originally also did a little high pass on the center of the image to sharpen it up a little.
Very nice.
Congratulations.
congratulations.
Thanks.
Honorable mention also. Bill,
Bill Clark.
congratulations to Bill.
Wonderful.
Another honorable mention. Tricia,
This was a window in Amsterdam. It was just an amazing array of snacks. I couldn't believe it. You've got Marmite and Eggos and Reese's Puffs and stuff I've never seen before. And it was really, really red, orange, and yellow and black. So I thought it might look better in black and white.
That's a cool image.
Where's Waldo?
One I like.
Did Joel go in there?
I thought he would.
congratulations. Third place. Jennifer,
Hi, yeah, thank you. That was the most thrilling thing for me about going to Florida, was seeing alligators. And this guy was my favorite. Thank you very much.
Great image. I love the
Yeah, it's
texture.
cool the way you did that.
It's very
Yeah.
Yeah, really wonderful.
Congratulations.
Great texture.
Unique.
Second place, Ronnie.
Oh, thank you. Uh, I wish Tony were here. He and I went around and around about this. Thank you. Yeah, I've shot this, as probably everybody has, many times, and I decided to look at it differently, and I'm really glad I did. So, and that was the sky that day.
Nice.
So,
Cool.
thank you for your comments.
Yeah.
You
Congratulations.
got the flag too.
I did,
Nice
yeah.
touch.
Congratulations. First place, Linda.
Oh, Linda.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you. This is in Quake Lake from a kayak. And it's right outside of Yellowstone. And yeah, it's just a beautiful area. Yeah, all dead. I mean, no, that's not what I meant, but you know, it was nice to be there. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Great balance.
Congratulations.
What is the bird? What bird
It's
is
a
that?
cormorant.
It was a
Yeah, it
cormorant.
is.
Good.
Yeah.
Really
Bearing
tall.
his pits.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Monochrome Masters, 4 images, honorable mention. Tim.
Oh,
Not all of these birds are low down or high up. This one was fairly low.
Yeah, cool.
I love that youngster.
Really
Yeah,
sweet.
me too.
Great shot.
Great.
I've been
Thank you.
enjoying your shots lately, Tim.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're cool to see.
Great moment.
Congratulations. Third place, Mike.
Oh,
Mike always has great people pictures.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
he
he
does.
does.
Reminds me of the guy who looks like the Three Stooges.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Larry and Moe.
Mike was here earlier.
He looks like Curly.
Oh, yeah. The bald one's curly.
Love the intensity of their stare, whatever they're looking at.
I like their expressions. Fabulous.
I just want to rub the guy's head, you know?
Both of them.
Congratulations to Mike. Second place,
Mike.
Tony.
Ah,
Oh,
They're
yeah,
both
that's really
fun.
cool.
Great shot.
The eyes are
Congratulations.
really something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they are.
Yeah.
looks like he's a little angry.
Yep.
The dog's probably feeling the vibration of that instrument.
Mhm.
I'd call it a scowl.
You
Yes,
try
I would
blowing into
too.
his region,
Yes, a
end up
scowl.
with funny expressions.
Congratulations to Tony. First place, Liz.
All
Yeah.
right, Liz.
Oh my goodness.
Beautiful,
That's
Liz.
great, Liz.
It was really
Nice,
fun.
Liz.
It was
The
a really
bird.
foggy day at in Point Reyes, and we came upon the scene and we're like, wow, this was fun. So,
That's
thanks.
great.
Good Alfred Hitchcock advertisement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dog, mate.
I love all the birds that are along that vertical line right next to the pole.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's
Amazing.
amazing.
I think it's an optical illusion because I think that it was elevated. It just looks
Was it vertical?
Yeah, the line is going away from you.
right.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Still looks
Oh,
vertical.
yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, though.
You
Beautiful.
fooled them.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Very artful.
Nature Basic, 4 images, honorable mention. Craig.
Oh, very nice.
Picture.
Well, thank you.
Beautiful.
Wonderful.
We'll have another shot with the title on this one.
Great
Craig,
job.
wa-
Great
Craig, was
image.
he standing on something that he had just caught?
He was walking away from something that he had just eaten.
Okay.
And but it didn't come out well. It was it was pretty gory. I took it out because I thought I just didn't like the looks of it. So yeah, we'll relabel that. We'll give it a new title and give it another shot.
You took it out?
I took out it's a long, I cropped it.
Okay.
Yeah,
dead
I
meat.
didn't,
Okay,
I didn't dodge
Nancy.
the burn or any of
Close,
that stuff.
close call.
Nancy's waiting to pounce.
Talons out.
Yeah, exactly.
Congratulations. Third place. Stephanie.
Oh, I love that.
Great shot. Wonderful shot.
I want that for my room.
Yeah. Perfect balance and color.
Congratulations to Stephanie. Second place. Elizabeth.
Ooh.
Hi.
Thank you. I have crazy mushrooms in my yard this year and I'm learning all about them and they're all dangerous. And so taking them out of the yard before my little dogs get them is one of my missions. But thanks so much.
Very nice.
How low did you get for that, Elizabeth?
Oh, I was on my stomach looking at it eyeball to eyeball.
Well done.
Nice.
Getting
can't
up
do
to
that
the hard
anymore.
part.
Detail.
Congratulations. First place. Mark.
All right.
Great shot.
Macro.
Macro
Right.
man.
Man.
The eye.
Macro mark.
Beautiful.
Still not here.
Nope. But really cool image.
Congratulations to Mark. Nature Intermediate, 2 images. Second place. Pat.
Thank you. Yeah. It was interesting to me. I actually did a lot of reading about the elephants and how they greet one another. And this is all over the kind of the scientific literature on how elephants greet. So it appeared that way when I was shooting them, but it was nice to, read more about it later.
I love the subtle color in that.
The color is gorgeous.
Yeah.
The lighting is perfect.
It's not brown, it's gray.
Congratulations. First place. Laura.
Oh, boy.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually, I looked out on this one. I was looking at one eagle and then it flew off and then I drove off. When I looked, I'm like, oh my God, that eagle's got a goose. And so I sat there and I watched it for, I don't know, 20, 40 minutes, somewhere in there, and watched this interaction, and being relatively new to photography. And it was such a cool thing to watch the interaction between these two eagles.
Wow. Great capture.
Actually,
great.
It's not in these photos, but there was actually a magpie that was in the middle of all that too. So.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Great series.
Laura, was this Sacramento?
No, I went up to Klamath Falls
Nice.
in February.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
Really glorious.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Great exposure and everything.
Congratulations.
Good job, Laura. That's awesome.
Nature Advanced, 1 image, first place. Steve.
Oh. This is wonderful.
It's a fun one.
What a character.
Yeah. This was fascinating to see because you can't really tell from here, but it was just the edges of the lake that were frozen. And by the time we were done, it was kayaking. The ice was nearly gone. It was amazing. We had to actually break through with a paddle to be able to get kayaks out and paddle around the lake. And then I came back, it's like the ice was almost gone. So all the photo opportunities were just dissipated within like an hour and a half. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And the thing that cracked me up is these ducks kept coming in. There were a couple of 2 or 3 of them that would come in and land on the ice. To the left of this is where there's this launch ramp. and they'd come in and they'd just like face plant and they try and walk and they. So I had all these shots of ducks just in all these positions. It was just like, you know, it'd be completely embarrassing to a person, but then they just try and walk and their feet would be slipping and all. So this looks graceful, but this is, I would say, a quarter of the shots I got were semi-graceful. The rest of them were just like, oh my God.
I want to see the outtakes.
Yeah, I do.
I know, me too.
Me
I might,
too.
yeah, I might take some of those photos. And I didn't get any that I would call really good shots though. They were just awkward looking and, you know, photographically not very good, but it was entertaining to watch anyway.
Comic relief.
Next month, put them in next month's non-compete.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Nature Masters, 5 images, honorable mention. Anne.
Oh, well, thank you. I've been challenging myself to get non-bird nature images. That's what I came up with this month. So thank you.
Your backyard?
No, actually, this was out at Steve's place.
Oh,
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Steve Freddy.
yeah.
Steve
Steve
Freddy's
Reddy.
place. We went out there to look at the rhododendrons. It was a wonderful experience. I
Yes,
encourage you.
thank
Thank you, Steve. for
Yeah,
letting
thanks,
me come.
Steve.
Thank you.
Welcome. Enjoyed your visits.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Also, honorable mention, Bill.
Ah, thank you.
Butte.
Yeah, I agree on the fourth image. I think I'll look around for a replacement.
Yeah, it was hard not to award this, but I figure if you don't agree with me, just go forward wherever you want. Right?
No, I actually do agree with you, and you're right, because it's honorable mention, I got another shot at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
idea,
idea.
I appreciate your comments, Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks.
beautiful, beautiful pictures.
Great series.
I mean, you see an egret with a stick in its mouth, and you're thinking, okay, here we go. Because we see a lot of egrets, right? But then, bingo, you have a cow egret next. I was like, wow, that was amazing.
Awesome.
Congratulations. Third place, Liz.
Oh, I love this.
Thanks. We went to Sugarloaf on a foggy morning, and there are all these lupins with dew on them, and there's a lot of ladybugs this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's tons of them everywhere.
They're
good.
amazing everywhere.
And there are fewer
So
aphids.
many in my garden.
They're selling them at the local up in Hillsburg at Garrett's Hardware.
Where I work.
Skinny.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Second place, Tim.
Oh,
Mhm. Beautiful.
Well, same location, West 9th Street, Rookery. For those that haven't been, I'd recommend going. And this,
Wonderful right now.
yeah,
Yeah,
the-
amazing place.
this is one of those nests that are sitting further out. Happens that these trees, I think, are dying because of the drought. But this is one of probably, I don't know, 100 shots that were taken in burst mode. And that's what you have to do. And you're right. You have to just sit there and wait and wait and wait. But it is rewarding to do so.
especially with a shot like this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The one is that
Where
the
was
same?
this again?
This is West
9th
9th
Street,
Street.
Rookery?
Yeah,
Where?
West 9th Street, Rookery in Santa Rosa. Well recommended. You might have to hold your nose. It's getting a little stingy.
Yeah, and be careful where you park your car. I left today and I had to go to the car wash.
Yeah.
Wear your mask.
Not far from Finley Center.
But I also
Right.
want to thank Terry for her help in making judgment calls on this and giving advice to get it even better than it was. So Terry,
Great.
thank you. And thanks to the juror.
Congratulations.
Job.
First place, Tamara.
Oh,
Tamara's
So
trying, just got here, got home, and she's trying to get in, so watch for her. Trying to get in.
She always gets unique stuff.
Is an amazing shot.
Yeah.
That is the weirdest looking bird.
Sure is.
Isn't it? You'd almost think that was its tongue.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, she won't get in because it's not on the calendar anymore or something. So
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Supposed to be 5 hours, but
What, is she having problems getting in?
Yeah.
Can she get in?
Let me check to make sure that the meeting didn't become locked. If you'll hold on a sec. See if I can do that.
So Tim, while I was up at the rookery today,
Yeah.
he's doing that. I watched one of the great egrets actually pass a regurgitated gopher to one of the young. It was kind of interesting.
Oh, that was really fun.
That's wild.
Well, I've confirmed that the meeting is not locked.
Yeah,
So,
she said it's says that it's not valid anymore.
Oh,
Fritz
okay,
had that problem getting in a little late too.
yeah.
still more research.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm in conversation with Zoom on this, and I said I couldn't fully test it out until our next meeting, which is now. So I will resume with Zoom tomorrow. Now, if I can get,
Okay.
now if I can get back to my screen to control this.
That'd be good.
Okay, congratulations to Tamara. Pictorial Basic, 5 images, honorable mention. Dan.
Still not here.
No, not here, but boy, what a great image.
So if you guys don't know, I think that's Petaluma Bridge.
Looked a little familiar.
Nice.
They the colors don't show up, but I think I haven't been down there, but I think they were doing the Ukrainian colors. But
Yeah.
that looks like, I think that's the
That's
Petaluma
right.
Bridge.
Mhm. Cool.
Congratulations to Dan. Honorable mention also. Jennifer.
no.
Jennifer Olson.
Nice one. Very nice.
Jennifer's still here?
I'm not seeing her.
This is Jennifer.
Oh, different Jennifer.
Yeah, Jennifer Olson.
Congratulations to Jennifer. 3rd place. Craig.
Oh, thank you.
All right, Craig.
Thank you. Yeah, fun shot.
Yeah.
Love those clouds.
Yeah.
Where is the lake?
What's that?
Where's the lake?
Oh, this is Nicasio.
It's the reservoir, right?
Nicasio Reservoir.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife corrected me this evening. She said that's a reservoir, not a lake, and I went, uh-oh.
Okay.
Yeah. It's in northern Marin County.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's
Okay.
at Petaluma D Street.
Yeah.
On the way to Point Reyes.
2nd place. Jennifer.
All right, Jennifer.
Yeah.
First time out.
Yeah, pretty good.
Nice.
Autographs are hard.
Congratulations to Jennifer. 1st place. Mark.
All right.
Oh,
Used to
Pretty amazing.
clean
That's
up
it.
too.
Little specks on that tongue or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Very
Proboscis.
Proboscis.
How close are you to that little critter?
I don't think
Not
he's
here.
I don't think he's here. Yeah. Haven't seen him.
Congratulations to Mark. Pictorial Intermediate, 2 images, 2nd place. Ellen.
Mhm.
Thank you. It was just a fabulous sky day, and the light was just hitting in spots, and I'm happy I was able to catch it.
Yeah. It's
I
really
love
pretty.
the mustard frame.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Ah,
perfect.
beautiful.
And the yellow.
And the
Very-
blue, little patch of blue is beautiful.
I like the way the tines form a triangle. It's like they're almost posing.
Mhm,
Mhm.
mhm.
I like the light on them. The light
I
on
love
them.
the framing on the bottom.
Congratulations. First place,
Thank you.
Laura.
Mm.
Nice.
Thank you. Yeah, these two were behind the bush and I kept waiting for them to come around, hoping that I could get the picture of them as they came around the backside, and my patience paid off. It was neat to see. This one, it was only 3 days old.
Wow.
It was a
You already got a beard.
born.
I know.
Congratulations.
Laura.
Great framing.
Pictorial Advance, 3 images. Third place, Linda.
Ah, thank you. That was up along the Columbia River Gorge, and it was right right next to, oh, what was it? The Stonehenge World War I memorial, and just little light room, a little topaz, and a lot of changing the colors, and not colors, but the shading here and there. But yeah, it was fun. I loved the tree.
Very nice.
Love your
Nice.
tree.
Really like that.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Second place, Guy.
I love this.
Oh, I love this
That's
shot.
beautiful.
It's so great.
Wow.
I want to know if it's a composite.
Hmm.
Yeah, where is it?
Yeah.
It looks like the seat of the swing is right in the water.
In the water. It is.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it might be the Salton Sea, but I'm not sure.
Huh.
Oh, it could be.
They were down there, weren't they?
Yeah.
That's so
Has a
cool.
very zen quality.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Be a good logo for somebody.
Congratulations to Guy. First place,
Congratulations, Guy.
Gary.
Wow.
Thank
you. Yeah, this was a fun shot. We went up to Virginia City. We wanted to go somewhere for our anniversary, and so we decided to go up there. And we were thinking there was a little bit more going on. The place really dead, but especially at night, there's only 2 bars open. That's all that was open there, but an occasional car. So it was really neat to be able to just set up the tripod in the street, and some I took right in the middle of the street. In this case, you can see kind of on the edge, and the hard part here was not so much taking, what did I have? 8 seconds was that shot. And, but the blue on the fudge shop here on the left was really bright, so I had to tone it down. The signs were too dull, so I had to brighten them up. Got rid of a power line, got rid of one of those little cones that was on the side of the road. And then I wanted something way down at the end of the street. So I put in another little car streak down there that I from another photo. And then that big blank spot in the sky, I thought, well, I'll try a moon. So the moon was brought in from another other photo. And
Hey, Gary.
yeah, it was a total black background on the moon. And so it was easy to go on Photoshop and then use one of the blending modes that cancels out the black, basically. So you didn't really have to do any selecting, and so it come out. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to go up there, and there's music going on down the street at one of the bars. So it's like being out there listening to music and taking pictures for a couple hours. Fun.
I love the
Thank you.
motorcycle.
Yeah, I did some without it, and it added that little bit of extra interest that this place is almost deserted with it. But anyway, I'm glad you liked it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the
Brilliant.
most Harley I've ever seen.
Very nice, Gary. I really like that.
That's
Thank you.
brilliant.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Well done.
Nice.
Pictorial Masters, 2 images. Second place, Herb.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Let's see, are we back online? I think so. Okay.
Great, thank you very much. Since my son has moved to Bishop, I've had a lot of time to get up before dawn and go with my truck in the back roads there, looking for the light. So it's a lot of fun doing so, and I'm glad you appreciated the image.
Yeah, beautiful.
And also I
colors.
appreciate your comments through the night.
It's
Thank
stunning.
you.
Great.
I spent a lot of time up there as a kid and it's just, it's there.
It's wonderful.
It is.
Congratulations. First place. Tamara.
Wow.
Oh,
Puma High Plains, Argentina. Wow.
that is just gorgeous.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Colors. Oh.
The
I want
mountain
to
in the
paint my
back.
house interior those colors.
I like that, you know, the distant mountain there, and then the back is really
Uh-huh.
beautiful.
It's exquisite.
Really just move all the way through it.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Tamara. Travel intermediate, 2 images. Second place, Laura.
Thank you. Yeah, it was when we saw the sun creep up over it was there was some fog when it started to creep up over the clouds or fog in the distance. All of a sudden you saw this vibrant orange, and it was pretty cool to see.
Wow, nice.
Great picture.
What lens did you use on that, Laura?
Well, I think my 1 to 500. I don't remember what the settings were on it, but I think I had the big lens on it, the bigger
Oh,
one.
nice.
Where was it taken from?
Over by the Marin Rod and Gun Club just on the
Yeah.
other side, on the Marin.
Is it from the dock?
No, there's a little pull out. There's a couple parking spaces right before as you get off the freeway. Right there's a little pull out right before them. It's basically right at the Marin Rod and Gun Club, right before you go in the gate.
Very pretty.
Really pretty.
Yeah, really nice.
One of the ham radio clubs that I go to, they have a membership at the Rod and Gun Club. And being able to walk along the bridge in the morning is just amazing. It's a great, great sight.
Nice.
Congratulations. First place, Pat.
Thank you. Yeah, he was very intent in what he was doing. Definitely a worker, as the judge said. Thank you very much.
Beautiful shot.
Congratulations, Pat.
Congratulations.
Yeah, neat image.
Travel Advance, 3 images. Third place, Bill.
Oh, he's not here.
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations to Bill. Second place, Linda.
Oh,
It's gorgeous.
thank you. This is
Very nice.
my first time being up in northern Oregon. Of course, we had to stop at every lighthouse that there was. I think my husband was getting tired. Another lighthouse? So it was really a lot of fun. Yeah. I forgot what town it was near. Newport. I think it was near Newport. Yeah.
And you're going again.
Yes, but a little farther south. That'll be fun. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Love that.
Pretty image.
Congratulations. First
Thank you.
place, Bill.
Yeah.
Again.
Great shot.
Congratulations to Bill. Travel Masters, 5 images. Honorable mention, Tony.
All right, Tony, congratulations.
And we did determine, the review committee, in a conversation with Tony, that he really is in the photo, but he's
Way on the left.
almost down low in those trees, so you can't really see him.
Yeah, I
That
wondered
him
about
off the
that.
left with a red jacket.
Actually, I wondered about that. I wondered where the person was in
Yeah.
this reflection. I still can't see him.
Question him. He sent a Zoom picture, a zooming way in, and he's a little thing way back there, a really good way of doing it without being in the picture.
Yeah.
Very, very smart.
Did he have to be in the picture?
Well, we didn't see him, so we didn't know if he cloned it out.
Oh,
And it's travel, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Can't clone
Good
out.
image. He wore
Like,
beige
How
squares.
can you do that standing right there and not be in the picture? We couldn't figure it out.
Beige square clothing, I like it.
Yeah.
It's a very special mirror.
Oh, he used his
Congratulations to
finger on the
Tony.
cloaking device.
Yeah.
So cool.
Honorable mention also, Bill.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for the comments on the titles. I appreciate your focus on the titles tonight. It was very useful, very good.
Thank you.
Nice light.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was early morning. This is taken from a pier right next to the Perry building.
Oh, yeah, that long pier that kind of goes out. People fish
Exactly,
on
right
it.
next to the
Yeah.
Perry building. So you get
nice.
much
nice.
further back than this image shows.
The boat's a nice addition too, actually.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was good.
Congratulations. Third place. Herb.
Well, this is a surprise, especially since it appeared to be the poster child for oversaturated red in the travel industry.
Sorry.
But for those
And red
for those who've
backpacks.
seen my imagery before, this is kind of cliche for me. It's an image of my wife. We were traveling, and I put her in front for a sense of scale, and she has a red backpack. And indeed, I probably should have desaturated that red just a touch, or maybe had her take it off, so it wouldn't have been so obvious during the whole process. And this is an image, just for the record, that she wanted me to put in. I resisted. I was not going to put this in at all.
You
But
can't
I
stage. You
made-
can't stage your wife.
I didn't stage her. She
Okay.
was there.
Okay.
In fact, we were the only people there. We were hiked the what is it, 7 miles? So we didn't see another person for an hour. There wasn't a whole lot of opportunity. And she was taking pictures, I was taking pictures. So it kind of it just worked out like this. So I'm not sure I'm pleased with the the place, because it validates my wife's decision, but I have another one that I like better. So maybe next time.
Okay.
We'll look
Thank you
forward
very
to it.
much.
So if it was taken off the backpack, would that have been staged?
Yes.
I didn't
would have
have a
been.
problem with the backpack. I saw it, but it worked in with the storyline of the 7-mile hike. So at that point, I dismissed it and went back to the view. Just my two
I
cents.
like you.
Newbie.
I like you.
I like you, newbie.
Newbie.
Thank you.
I love the petroglyphs. Those are
Yeah, like to go
Yeah,
there.
really cool.
I've never seen anything like those when I was traveling.
This is a place I've always wanted to go to, and it is a bit of a challenge, but the journey was amazing, and we had a camp at the trailhead before in the truck, just to be able to get up to get a reasonable early morning light, and even though it looks a little bit hot, after you're hiking from dawn, you still get there with this kind of lighting. So thank you.
Wow.
There's also
Wow.
there's kind of an optical illusion in there too. If you look at the left petroglyph, the area around is all light. If you imagine that the border around that is actually an arch, and that you're looking at a scene on the other side of the arch.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I like it.
Yeah.
Those
Some of the
I never saw it.
pretty cool.
Thank you.
So amazing.
Very nice photo. I always wanted to go there, but it was a little too far away from the road for us.
It is, and the usual shot is a close up of the figures, but everyone has seen that, so I fell back to my my cliche. So thank you.
It's
Yeah,
a
that was out of
wonderful
Green
picture.
River.
Great
or-
picture. I
right?
love it.
Look great.
If you really want to go shoot some unusual petroglyphs and so forth, go through the David Minch photos. He's got a whole bunch that I've never seen before.
You know, I've never
to see.
seen these petroglyphs and I never will see these petroglyphs. So I doubly thank you for sharing this.
Yeah, they're really.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Second place. Anne.
Yay. Oh, I love this.
Oh, nice,
Well,
Ann.
this was, quite a
stunning.
climb to get up to this tower. And I had another picture of it that actually showed the tower and us on it, but it didn't have quite the quality because it was with my iPhone and this one was with my camera. So I decided to pick this one in. But it was just, Cinque Terre is just a beautiful place. And we were there when they were recovering from a huge storm which decimated many of the towns. And they were finally more presentable. And it was really interesting to see the transition from the disaster to a viable, tourist place again. And we didn't do the hiking trails, but we did the train. And we spent 5 days, and every day we went on the train to one of the different villages. And what an experience. It was really fabulous. So I was sort of emotionally attached to the picture. So I wasn't really sure if it was a great photograph or not, but thank you for recognizing it.
They make a nice jigsaw puzzle with all the detail.
Oh, there you go.
Are those vineyards on the terraces?
It's very, very steep, and there's agriculture on all of the terraces because that's just the nature of Italy. I mean, there's olive trees, there's vineyards, there's lemon trees. You can't really see because it's so far away. You can't see what it is in the picture, but just a really interesting place to visit.
Yeah, really beautiful.
Beautiful.
Congratulations.
I'm told they're figs on the terraces.
Figs there, yeah. Huh.
First place. Tamara. Triple play, 3 first places.
Yeah,
Didn't get in.
Wow.
She's on a roll.
Yes, she is.
Didn't Mark
Congratulations,
Hollinger, didn't he
Laura.
get also all 3? I'll let her know right now.
Congratulations tomorrow, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, great picture.
She's
Yeah, that's great.
a fine photographer.
Congratulations to Tamara. And best image of the evening. Hold that phone, Nancy.
Ah!
Of course. Wow.
Another tomorrow.
She'll get to watch the recording.
Yes, we will. That's good. Fabulous
Awesome.
picture.
Awesome. Yeah.
Fabulous.
That was great. Well, good
Great
night,
job,
everybody.
Mark. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
Mark,
you.
thank
Thank you,
you.
Mark.
Thank you,
Thanks
Mark.
so much
Thank you,
for
Mark. Good job.
I enjoyed it.
you.
all you taught us tonight.
Yeah,
Come
listen, I
back
learned a lot.
to
I
us.
learned a lot. I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the images. I looked at them for hours. It's like, great.
I'm
great.
just
A lot into it.
please.
Yeah, I'm glad you weren't. I didn't have a lot of improvements on a lot of them, so I was a little bit concerned. People were like, well, because I know some people just like to hear what can I do better, and you can't do
You
better.
got that in your way.
Yeah.
You said it at the beginning, yeah.
We got enough of that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Later.
Night all.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care.
Night all.